example on here, which uses a little bit more advanced scripting, which uses you can see how complex that is, which uses the VIS function hold action. Jumping straight in game on this, the advantage of this is it's a very neat little function here that I've just finally got working. Full details are on the wiki, but basically it involves a lot of options available to you. So we can see here we've moved close to the UAV now, and we now have the space to download the data. So this is a very rough implementation. I've only got a few simple triggers in place here, so this action is doing most of the work, and I'm holding down space at the moment, and we can see in the bottom left I've got a message there saying I've started the download, and that will actually be shown to all players. Likewise, there is a percentage counter in the top right, hint being displayed, and there you can see that's counting up, and it is actually displaying the percentage of how far I am through. So that is displaying the hint to all players. So in a multiplayer environment, all people would see this message bar. And I mean, at the moment it's not very informative. It is a little bit rough. As I said, this is just when I was messing around. This one's just basically saying the hint and nothing more. And we get to the end, it should say who completed the action as well. There we go. Okay, I tickled a phone. That's me just lifting it straight off an example online. I didn't tickle this at all, honestly. But we can see basically just how interactive that is, and having to use that in missions is quite a nice feature. So just running through that, basically you have, as with add action, this is only client specific, so this does need to be ran on all machines. So I just put it in the init box. So that will be the object that the action is attached to. That will be the text that gets displayed to the player. That is the initial icon displayed as you go up to the object. That is the icon displayed when you are using the object. That is the condition in order to start the download, and that is the condition in order to continue the download or interaction. I say download in this instance. And then you will have this code displayed when they start the download. As you can see there, it displays a system chat message to all players. This second bunch of code is the message that is displayed each tick of the interaction. As you can see there, the percentage complete, because for some reason someone decided it would be out of 24. We have to multiply that up to get a percentage. And then finally we have the completion condition. Oh well, sorry, not finally, but towards the end we have the completion condition, which sends the global variable which I use to activate the trigger. And then if they do actually stop halfway through the download by releasing the spacebar or releasing the interaction, then that message will be displayed. We then finally have any parameters that need passed to the functions, which you can probably get really complex and call functions in here, but I think that's beyond the tutorial at the moment. We have the amount of time it takes to use the action, as in that is 60 seconds, so I would have had to hold the spacebar down for 60 seconds in order to activate it. And we also have the priority, which really should be a high number, so it is displayed by default at the top. Anyway, that was just a very simple with the UAV data. Our trigger condition basically just checks for the global variable to have been sent. So for example, this is just using the var downloaded variable, and by default, if it's not returned anything, which it shouldn't be because it won't have been created yet, false will be displayed, so this condition will not be met. However, when the data is downloaded and this condition is satisfied, we can see that this sends out the variable to all players, so everyone gets that variable, and that will in turn both disable the interaction of the UAV, as we can see because that will no longer be nil, and it will also satisfy the condition on the server because the var data downloaded will have been true, which will have fired off the task. A little tempting insight into the possibilities of the hold action add function, and I believe all of these next examples go through various features of that. For example, we can do many things with this function, as I have taken to the level here. So for example, we have to disable 2 pumps. You'll notice the space to hold action again. If we look at these pumps, we have a little cog icon and we have space to disable. We can see the time is a little bit reduced on here. And there we go. I've disabled pump 1. It probably should have a sound effect if I'm going to be perfect about things, but it issues some smoke when it's been done. And very similar for this, no different. We hold down space, and when we get to the top, it completes the objective, and we also get the smoking pump. Just taking a quick look at that. We can see the same triggers as before in the last example. Nothing new there, just the variables different. And looking at the actual pump itself, we can see we've changed the text. We've got a different starting icon to be displayed. We've got a different condition check. So if pump 2 is being disabled, we can not interact with it. That basically stops other players from interacting with it in a multiplayer environment. And we have on the various conditions, it's quite a quiet one, this, apart from the completion. And when we get to the completion, we run some code to basically run this on the server, which creates a particle source, which basically in layman's terms just makes some smoke. So there's a bit of complex code there, but in reality it is very simple. You can just find the examples on that anywhere on the forums, and that just creates some smoke. I really should add a sound effect in there. We'll see what we can do, but for now all we do is create the smoke and we set the variable, so the pump has now been broadcast as disabled, all using the hold action add. So that's one where we disable the pumps. We've got another where we have to heal a civilian. Again, we're taking advantage of the multiple failure conditions here, because what we'll have to do is we'll have to rescue this civilian. We don't want to kill him. So if we kill him, that will fail the mission. So for example, we just have a not alive check on him. If he isn't alive, we failed. And when he's been walked out of the area, as in he is alive and he's no longer present, that will be our success condition. Looking at the actual chap himself, we can see he starts off in an unconscious state using the set unconscious function, and then again using the hold action add, we can see we have a revive option that we've used with the icons. And if he is incapacitated, we are able to revive him. We have a few light conditions there, so nothing happens when, I can't remember what the order for these are now, but nothing happens when, I think when we start or when we have any progress. But when we have completed the action, as in when we get to 100% completion, we set his unconscious state to be off, as in he comes back alive, and he will also join the player's group. Now really that shouldn't be player, even though it is running local to the client. We will be allowed to get away with it in this instance, but really this should be this select one, which if we looked on the wiki would actually be the person who's calling this function. As in, this will be me that's calling the function, so he will join my group because I am the one using the action. So we can see there, as we just jumped in game, he's been set to unconscious. We can hold space on him to revive him, as we will be doing. And when he gets revived, his unconscious state will be disabled, and he will also join my group. And then what will happen is we can then escort him out of the area. at which point the trigger will be satisfied. And he is rescued. So we can see just how creative we can be with the hold action, and a few other scripting commands can make things pretty interactive.